Florida at UCF's College of Education. And today I have the pleasure of actually speaking with two accomplished guests. We have just double the motivational power today. And the interesting thing about my two guests today is they were raised in the same household, and they are actually related, but they are both accomplished but in very different ways. You might believe that they're very, very different, but I have a sneaking suspicion that what you see on the outside and what is on the inside may be very different. So let's find out. Cheryl, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Cheryl Hines, and I am an actress. I've also directed television and film, and I write every now and again. I went to school at UCF, and now I live in Los Angeles.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Rebecca Hines, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Central Florida. I also write, but different things, and I'm a graduate of the University of South Florida in Tampa.
Okay. Well, from just a curiosity perspective, I wonder how you two believe that you're actually similar, and also what differences do you really see between the two of you?
Well, I think we are very similar, actually. I think Dr. Hines, she makes me call her Dr. Hines. I think we share the same sensibilities. I think we value people, we like understanding where people are coming from and how they think and how they relate to other people. I think we're both bold, willing to take risks. We are definitely the risk takers of our family, even though we have two brothers.
Oh, there are other Hines?
Yes, two other Hines. And the guys are a little more cautious and conservative, I'd say.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that Becky and I have in common is we are not afraid to fail. So we will take big risks at the risk of failing because we have failed. And we know that we'll survive it, and we'll come up with a better plan.
Okay.
Right.
Is she accurate? Do you?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, it's funny because I've even over the years thought about that, especially in relation to our brothers, because they're not the risk takers that we are. And I mean, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple of reasons, like as I've tried to think about that over the years. And one is, I feel like we're kind of from a very matriarchal kind of family. We had a really strong grandmother who really was a big influence, and our mom is, a character of her own, and she has a big personality. And
she worked hard.
And she worked hard.
She always
and she
had
got
at least
done.
one job, maybe two, with 4
So
kids.
she really, could we say that she ran the family?
Yeah.
It's tricky. We're never sure who was running what. But definitely we just had a lot of strong women in our family, different types of women.
Yeah.
But a lot of strong women, so I think that was part of it. And the other thing is I think that for me, that idea of not being afraid to fail comes from knowing, with such a close family that as we have, there was always a safety net. So even if you failed, it's not like some people whose failure would define them.
Right.
So if I fail at something, at the end of the day, it could be the biggest failure, I could look like the biggest idiot, but there's still people who love me. There will always be, there's always
a couch to sleep on.
There's always a couch to sleep on.
Yeah.
There's always somebody to call and laugh with me
So that
about
safety
it.
net is really important.
Exactly. The safety net, I think, is the key for me to take a risk.
Is that a psychological safety net, or is that an environmental?
Oh, it's psychological.
security?
We never had anything. We didn't have money.
No, we never had money.
We never had anything. But we knew, the difference between us and a lot of people is, for whatever our reasons, we learned to see the humor in things much faster than most people would. So if you do something stupid, we can find it funny much quicker than most people could. So even in that moment of despair, you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a funny story one day. This is, I am sitting by the side of the road and I have no money to get my car fixed and I am 5 hours from civilization, but boy, this is gonna be funny when I tell Cheryl later. We are
Sounds
gonna
like a
laugh.
Curb Your Enthusiasm
That's
episode.
one,
pretty
our
much
life
our
has been one
Yes,
big
our whole
career.
life.
Yeah, okay. All right, differences.
We're not as different as we are similar. Differences.
One thing I think that would be a surprise to everyone, and I don't know, Cheryl, you might disagree with me, because it's a very slight difference. I think most people would view me as the more hard thinker, like a little harder, less sentimental somehow or something. And actually, Cheryl's kind of the one who, I'm the one who's tends to be a little softer about something or get emotional or
That's true.
and Cheryl will be like, pull it together.
So-
I mean, there's hardly any times in our lives when that's happened, but just in general, Cheryl has a very good, clear way of being objective and being able to look at something objectively, and I think that would surprise most people.
Emotional intelligence and
Oh,
regulation.
I like the way
That's what they call it in the
well, I'd
books.
like to think I'd have that too. I'm just saying,
Well,
it's a degree of it that, she's
Right.
much.
Only because I think you can become overwhelmed with it. Like,
Yeah.
let's say it's something like the death of our grandmother or something,
Yeah.
and in the moment, things still have to progress. If it's a
Right.
funeral, people still have to go to the next room and
Right.
drink coffee or whatever it is. And I think it's just that slight difference where.
I will hang on to the emotional piece longer than Cheryl.
Yeah.
I will not remove myself from the emotional piece as quickly as Cheryl. And yet still I will do it more quickly than most, but not as, Cheryl is very good at,
Well, it sounds like
Objective.
you two would be great on a camping trip because you would say go
I
straight.
would not.
well.
That's where we differ.
No, I don't want to
Okay.
go camping either.
Well,
Bad analogy.
no, but the thing about Becky is she's very focused. She
Right.
knows what she wants. She knows how to get there or how she thinks she's going to get there, and she does not. She almost doesn't even see obstacles. So I am a little different than that. I see where I want to go, but I get distracted by obstacles, and I
Right.
will feel like I don't know what to do. So I call her.
Okay, all right. Okay, we are back with Rebecca and Cheryl, and I'm really curious about failure because I failed many times in my life, like most other people. And resilience is a really important quality when it comes to adaptive motivation. But you both mentioned failure as almost like an opportunity. You said you're willing to take risks. So what about risks? What kind of risks are we talking about here? And what happens when you miscalculate and things don't go right?
Well, things aren't always going to go right, and I think that's where people get stuck. If they have a plan and it doesn't go right, some people shut down and that's it. But if things are not going to go right all the time, there's just that's not life.
You should just recognize that.
You should just recognize it's like flying. Sometimes your flight is going to get canceled, your luggage is going to get lost. Things are going to happen. It's going to happen. So if you let that ruin your whole vacation or your experience or whatever it is, then that's too bad for you.
So you basically set an expectation that things will not be perfect, and that's the starting point. Could you give me an example? This is like the typical corporate interview question. Can you tell me a time when you failed?
I tell you lots of
And
times.
how you felt about it?
Well, for me, because I'm an actress, part of being an actor is not getting the job. I mean, 99% of the time you're not going to get the job. And I remember when I lived here.
It's that same way in academics. So.
The one show that was shooting was a show called Swamp Thing.
Right.
And I auditioned for it 3 times. I did not get the part. It was the only show shooting. And I called Becky and I said, maybe I'm just a bad actress and I'm never going to get, I can't even get a role on Swamp Thing. And she said, you should get out of the business. And I said, that is not. She said because affecting you so.
Oh,
If it's
okay.
really, it's like ruining your self-esteem, and it's
Well,
turning you, giving you a anxiety. You're not gonna.
Ruining your self-esteem? You seem pretty driven and pretty resilient.
Well, now I do, but when I
Oh,
didn't
that's
get
not-
She
swamped,
had to make
there,
she was at a decision making
Right.
and I,
point.
and
You make a decision.
And she said, you're not gonna get better projects than one thing. You are gonna audition and not get it. So, if you can't handle that, get out. And it was a good lesson for me. And I thought, you know what? I hate to say it, but she's right. I have to. This can't define me. And by the way, I auditioned for it the 4th time and got the
Well,
part.
so
I mean,
did
but
get the
that's like a small part of the.
Right.
the
okay,
haystack.
so, should I call you Becky?
Either
Everybody
one.
calls you Becky, right?
Yes.
All right, Becky, so tell me, you talked about risks.
Mm-hmm.
What's taking a risk in the world of academia or in your life? However you
That's a
respond
good
to that one.
question. I would say, and you probably know this feeling, I have the opportunity to do a lot of keynotes, big conferences, and and even just going through the PhD process. And it's kind of an interesting thing because you feel, you're very aware that you're expected to be an expert. So not entertaining necessarily, but an expert. And so that just like as an actress, there's going to be detractors who don't know you, who don't care, they're just going to
You
try
both
to
have
knock you down.
hecklers, is that it?
Yes.
Yes.
So you get up there and you have to believe so much in yourself, and your ability to communicate with this audience, that you have to know what you know and believe what you believe, and understand. You know what? I may have one person who doesn't agree with what I'm saying, but I believe so much in what I'm saying that I'm going to compel any of the marginal people to believe this. And so, in terms of success or failure, I always feel successful if I can deliver something that, makes people sit up and put down the notepad or put down the iPad or put down their cell phone and
Right.
really lean in and listen. So it's this idea of, I feel every time I do that, I feel like I'm really putting myself out there because I'm basically standing up in front of a big audience saying, "Oh, I'm the expert in this. You guys better listen up."
Yeah, it can be a precarious situation.
So and
But I get the impression from both of you that you certainly are goal-driven, and you certainly put yourself outside of a comfort zone sometimes as kind of the process to help you grow.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've auditioned for parts that you didn't get, right?
That's
All
right.
And you kind of, I don't know, do you feel anxious about those situations?
Um,
Like, I know I'm not going to get this, but I'm going to do it anyway?
Oh no, I never feel like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, because then don't go into the audition. If I feel like I can't get the part, I am wasting everybody's time, and it does me no good to go in.
So there's a confidence factor.
Well, you have to, there's a confidence factor, and you have to know what your abilities are. I mean, if somebody said, and this has happened, go in and do a Scottish accent, I have to search my soul as much as I want this role.
Right.
I have to say, I do not want to waste your time. Because I know, and even if I studied it, it's probably not going to be what you're hoping.
I'm a little skeptical that you would actually enter into a situation. I just have this feeling you would put yourself in that situation anyway, even just to show yourself what you could do.
No.
No?
Because, I guess as you learn in being in Los Angeles, the stakes are very high there. People are the best of the best in entertainment.
Sure.
And so you're not going to walk into a DreamWorks audition. Although I have.
But you have.
But I hired a dialect coach, and turns out that it was what was the movie? Oh, Braveheart, right? Oh no, not Braveheart. What's her name? What's the girl? The animated series. Anyway, but she was Scottish or Irish or something. But I called the best dialect coach in LA, who happened to be like $600 an hour. which I didn't know until I had to write the check. But even working with this guy, and so I did the best of my ability.
Right.
And I also said when I went in there, if I got this part, I assure you, I will work so hard with a dialect coach. I did not get the part, but I really tried.
Okay. Well, you didn't enter into this situation thinking it was impossible. You just thought it was a challenge.
No, but I do know that there are things that are impossible.
Okay.
I can't sing. I'm not going to waste anybody's time.
Mm-hmm.
I have
She
to.
cannot sing.
Yeah. So there are things that I know it's not in my ability range. So I know I will.
Okay.
I can't do that.
And it's interesting because I suspect that you would be like me. In my field, it's the difference in I will get asked to go and do something or write something on a topic, and I'll be very clear and say, well, that, how about I'm going to talk about assistive technology, because I'm not actually an expert in that.
Yeah.
So I will say, well, you know what? Here's what I'm good at. Here's what I can bring. Here's what I can do. And I put it back on you to decide, do you want this? Because I cannot make myself that.
Well, since we know that you are sisters and you were raised by the same parents in the same home, there must have been some defining moment, or at least a period of time, where, Becky, you said, I'm going to be a professor, and Cheryl said, I'm going to be an actress. Does that bring back any memories? Can you think of a defining moment that pushed you in a particular direction, or...
I can tell you that when I was in the 8th grade, I was in this class in which we had to write out a timeline of our lives, and every decade of our lives and what we thought we'd be doing. So I don't think at that time that I specifically said I was going to be a professor, because it wasn't in my frame of reference. I didn't know anyone who was a professor. And as you know, it's the kind of job that if, in the absence of seeing somebody who does that, you don't even really know it exists or how you would get there.
Yeah, I don't think you really know what it is till you
Right, until you get
try
there.
to do it.
So I don't think, I felt like I wanted to be an educator because I'd always worked with little kids, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't clearly defined. But then, flash forward several years, and I remember, and Cheryl, I don't know if you remember this, but I was thinking about that. And Cheryl and I sat down and we wrote out our own timeline of every decade of our life, so we'd always have something to look forward to. And it's funny because if I go back and look at mine,
Do you have the physical time?
I don't have the physical one, but I remember what they were.
You have yours?
No, I have no memory.
She has no memory.
Very few.
But I knew that I wanted to be a sports reporter, and I was. And then I knew that, I wanted to be an educator, and I was. And we had a goal, we both had a goal to write a book in our 50s. By the time we were 60, we wanted to have a book written.
So another 20 years, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Exactly. And in our 60s, I feel like it was something, I can't remember what our 60s, I better go find my,
Yeah, you gotta find
get
your
to the
paper.
60s. But we had goals for every decade of our lives. So, and we sat down and did it together and talked about it. And it was interesting because they were similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Becky remembers this or not, but when I was I think it was in 3rd or 4th grade, so she was 2 years ahead of me, I have a difficult time with numbers, like how people are dyslexic with letters. I have that with numbers.
Sure.
And I had taken a math test and I had gotten every single answer wrong. Every one of them. And Becky, for whatever reason, I don't know why she would even be interested in this, so she's in, 5th grade, she says, let me see your test, and she looks at it, and she figured out what I had done. I was either...
Subverting them?
Yes, I was mixing up something. And she said, did you do, were you memorizing this and then writing it down? And I said, yes, that's exactly what I did. She said, well, you're one off. Every answer is one off. This is actually the right answer to that question. But at the time, it struck me as, why do you care? Why does a 5th grader care about a 3rd grader's test? But, so, yeah, from an early age, she clearly...
The start of exceptional education.
Yeah. I was actually in general ed. I was in English ed first.
Yeah.
So she, but like she said, she didn't have a mentor or anybody saying, why don't you think about being a professor? And then in high school, I had written, because our teacher, our psychology teacher, had said, where do you want to be in 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote that I wanted to be an actress and I wanted to be able to pay my bills acting. So that was, yeah,
That's
you
a
know,
formidable challenge,
Yeah.
right?
yeah. So it took longer than 10 years, but that's what I wanted to do.
Okay, you're both what I would consider by default role models, whether you like it or not. People look up to accomplished professionals, either in academics or in acting. As a role model, do you even see yourselves that way? And if you do, what advice do you have for people that look up to you?
My message to our students is actually probably in part taken from watching Cheryl's success. And that is always, don't make things harder than they are.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually reach a lot more people if you look like you're enjoying what you're doing and if you make it look easy. Then people are more willing to try what you're doing. So it's with our doctoral students, for example, I'm always teasing them, that you can still have fun. You don't have to try to sound smart. You can take a really important concept and pare it down to its simplest form and share that first and get everybody interested in that, and then you can add those layers. But you don't have to prove that you're smart, and you don't have to prove that you're something. Just be relatable. Just be relatable, because if you want people to follow you, or to model your behavior, if you're trying to teach them to teach, in my case, well, then I better be someone who they can look at and figure out what I'm doing so they can try it themselves. So if they think I am successful at what I'm doing, it needs to be that they can identify those behaviors and apply them, even if it's something as simple as smiling.
So your role seems to be of a transformer of information.
I think so. I think it's more for me about making sure everyone, including, our children, my children, see that, what, life can be fun, and you can be successful, and you can have fun, and you don't have to look like you're suffering.
Right. And I share the same outlook. I mean, I think that people you have to be aware of who you are and what defines you. So as an actress, if you let the roles that you don't get define you, if you let what people say on the internet define you, if you have, so I have to make an effort to think about what does define me. My family, my successes. Why did I get this script sold? It's because I worked really hard. I was very, I'm open to other people's opinions and ideas, and I am professional.
So 3 words that define you are?
Oh, jeez. Gosh.
How about one?
Honest.
Okay.
Don't take mine.
I think I'm kind.
Okay. So kind and honest, where is that taking both of you?
We sound
So
We're gonna-
boring.
right. Do not invite us to a party.
We're gonna just open a bank.
Yeah,
Lend money to
kind and
people that
honest.
need it.
Well, kind of-
Okay, like in my world, it's all about motivation. And motivation is a different concept for everyone. Everyone goes about motivating themselves in different ways. When you encounter an obstacle, what do you do?
When I encounter an obstacle, I usually take a step back, and I think, what's the worst thing that could happen? So if I need to do something, usually the worst thing that could happen is you look foolish by making a bold choice. So
That bother you?
at first it does, but then I get comfortable with the idea of, okay, worst case scenario, 1 million people are going to laugh at me. I can handle it, and then I'll go forward with it. So that's usually what I do. I just think of, brace yourself for the worst, and usually the worst doesn't happen.
And it's not as bad as you
And
think
it's not as
gonna
bad
be.
as,
Right.
but if you're mentally okay with that, then it gives you strength to push forward and try really hard because you've got nothing to lose.
So when it comes time to push, do you do any kind of psychological strategies? Or I know some of the people I speak to tell me, like the poker player guy, he said, when I'm at that table, I'm doing mental exercises to hone my focus. Is there any kind of strategy that you use that you can think
Well,
of?
I can tell you that I always think of what's the worst that could happen also, but I definitely use kind of a critical thinking model of, here's the problem, and then I will think of, okay, what are at least 3 solutions? All right, and I'll get a certain number in my mind, and then I'll decide, okay, if I do this, and it's almost like a little math problem, but this route ends there, that one ends there. Do any of them end where I want to be with the least amount of pain? And then that's the one I'll take, and then I'll reevaluate, did that work, yes or no? And if it didn't work, then I'll go, oh, well, let me go try that other one I had in mind. So I never feel like, and that sounds arrogant, I don't remember a problem that I didn't feel like, well, there's another path I could try. I have not necessarily encountered.
Sure. Well, that's something I would always advocate to students, because you're constantly going to encounter roadblocks.
Right, and it's find another choice.
And there are multiple solutions to the same problem. It's usually like, can you figure out what the problem actually is?
Exactly.
Is the problem there, or is the problem here?
I mean, I like to do yoga. I don't do it all the time, but I do find, especially if I feel like everything's out of my control and I can't get on track, I like to do yoga if for no other reason, because for an hour and a half, you're quiet, and you're thinking about. I mean, in the yoga classes that I go to are very hard, and your body's shaking, and you feel like you're not going to be able to make it. But the idea is, if you have a good instructor, they are like, breathe through this. You're going to get through it, and you have to find that calm place.
Right,
inside.
decompresses.
Yeah. So once I find, okay, I can do anything. I can certainly try anything, and like Becky says, I have enough faith in myself that I'll figure it out. I'm rarely in a situation where I think, oh my God, if this doesn't go right, that's the end of my life. I feel like, if this doesn't go right, I will figure out the next step. So I know a lot of people stress.
We had a conversation kind of recently, I mean, it was in the last several months, where we were talking about this idea of, regrets, and you kind of reach a stage in your life and you become reflective. And we were both looking at each other, we're like, yeah, I don't really have regrets, because at every single critical juncture, I really, really thought about the possible outcomes, and I did my very best to think of, solutions. And it's not that I didn't fail, and it's not that I haven't disappointed people or anything else, but I made the decision that I felt was the very best one I could make. And so I don't live a life of regret.
Right.
Well, is there anything that you realize now that you wish you would have known earlier in your life?
No. I have to say, I don't, I feel like the luckiest person in the world.
Although we were just having this
Yeah.
conversation.
Maybe, hold please, maybe not.
No, we were
Maybe
just
I'm
having
not
this
lucky.
conversation about education.
Oh yeah.
Because when
Yes.
we grew up, our parents were like, go to school, you're on your own, public school. Is it safe to say we didn't try that hard? The subjects we
You
liked.
can say that.
Well, we don't feel like we
cut that
learned.
part
We didn't
out.
learn much.
We didn't learn
We
much.
didn't learn much.
And so I feel like that's the only regret that I have, is that when I was in high school, and maybe, I don't know, let's blame it on the system, but I have to take responsibility. I mean, I feel like I didn't learn anything in high school, and I wish I would have.
And I feel like I didn't learn anything in high school either, honestly, but I feel like everything I learned was from extracurricular things. And I feel like, for example, Cheryl was in drama and I was in journalism and sports. So my journalism path actually left me well prepared for certain things that now,
Right.
as a professional in our field, has
Sure.
come in very handy. So even though it wasn't necessarily pushing me to my fullest academic potential for sure, at least I learned things that I felt like were really valuable later for this career. You know, I don't regret, even though I don't think I learned, I don't regret it because I feel like I could parlay every single thing I did even then into something that's been advantageous for me now.
Sure.
And isn't it, I find it true that saying that I never get right, but it's something like you regret more the things you don't do in life than the things
Than what
you
you
do.
don't.
So,
Sure.
and I shared the same thoughts with Becky. I feel like I have tried things that I really wanted to try, and I don't regret any of it. Even if the things that I tried failed, I am so happy that I tried.
Mhm.
Now, if I never moved out of Florida
Yes.
and
Your life would be different.
and said, I just want to be an actress, and I'm, still living in my apartment, just telling people I wanted to be an actress, I'm sure I would regret it because I would say I never tried. I never went to LA. I never went to New York.
Right.
I never actually tried.
So that's kind of an ancillary benefit of success. It sounds to me, from speaking with both of you, that as long as you're willing to take the risk and as long as you're dedicated and focused, you won't have any regrets. It's the things like you said.
Well,
that
I
you
think,
don't do.
and as long as you're willing to try to solve the problem,
Right.
because all of that said, I mean, Cheryl spent Cheryl is successful because she was willing to fail much longer than most people are, and that's the truth,
Mhm.
and, even for me, when I went to apply for a PhD program, I was declined because of my undergraduate GPA.
Uh-huh.
And, it took me 7 years to get my undergraduate degree, work my way through school. I didn't care, I would not go, fail classes because I was working and I didn't care. And I was unapologetic about it. And I got that rejection letter and I was in such despair for about a day. And
Is
then
that
I
a
said, you
turning
know
point
what?
for you?
Well, no, I just woke up the next day and I said, okay, well, A, it's not the only school in the country, and B, let me go talk to them. I don't think they should be looking at my transcripts from 10 years ago. Let me show them my master's program. Let me show them what I'm doing now as a teacher, And so I did. I made an appointment. I drove to the university and said, I'm not sure that you really thought about this.
See, I had a similar experience because when I transferred to UCF, because of my bad math skills, I had taken college algebra 4 times. I had failed it, because you have to memorize the.
Perseverance, 4 times.
Well, I had to pass it.
Yeah.
I had no choice.
Well, a lot of people would give up.
Well, I had no choice. It was so, but you have to memorize the formulas, which I for whatever reason cannot memorize them in the right order. So I kept failing, and they kept telling me, "Don't worry, it'll be your last grade." So when I came to transfer, they averaged in all of my Fs. My GPA was so low that they wouldn't take me in the communication school. So I sat in the bathtub and smoked cigarettes, which I don't
It's really
smoke.
funny to hear.
I know, in the bath, but I was being very dramatic. This is how long ago it was. I was listening to Sade, and I thought, my life is over. I can't even. What's gonna happen? I'm failing out of college, and then so I did that for one night, and then the next day, same thing. I put on my best flip-flops. I marched down the UCF and I said, I need to speak to someone. And I did not stop until I sat down face to face with somebody in admissions.
Perseverance.
And I said, here's my situation. And it's not because I'm lazy, it's not because I had to take this class. And so when I finally, I don't know how, looking back, I don't know who said yes, and I don't know how it happened, but I got those grades removed,
Right.
and I got into the communication school. So, yeah, I did have one night of
Yeah,
drama.
that's exactly, and I would say that probably the one thing that we both had in common in each of our resolutions to those obstacles is that we're accountable.
Yeah.
My failure, I did not go in and blame my failure on anyone else.
Right.
And I went in with a smile, and I did not go in apologizing for my past. I went in with a smile and an explanation and a solution. I always tell my students, go with the solution, not the problem.
Right, sure, great advice.
So
Yeah.
it's how you attempt to solve it. And I think that
That's
anymore, I think the accountability piece is huge. And going in with a solution,
And it wasn't our parents making phone calls.
right, right.
It was, there's nobody that's gonna solve it for
Solve
us.
the problem.
So you either sit at home and smoke cigarettes in the bathtub.
I'm trying to get a visual. All right, ladies, I have one last question. Whether you like it or not, there are people who are watching this videotape and reading the book that want to be just like Cheryl Hines and just like Rebecca Hines. So Rebecca, people want to be like you. What's your advice?
I would advise anyone, for the sake of themselves and the profession, don't become a professor if you're not passionate about your content. Don't go unless your goal is to help move things forward in your field. It's not about a job so much as a commitment to thinking really deeply about, in my case, something that I feel is a need. And whether you're in psychology or economics, whatever it is, go with it, lead with your passion, or you won't love this job.
So really, it sounds to me like the job has not worked for you.
The job has not worked for me.
Right. Okay. Cheryl?
I would say you have to be willing to work really hard. I mean,
I should have said that.
I have, you can't expect anybody to give you anything. I mean, I have worked, there have been times when I've had 3 jobs at once, and I did it for a long time. And
Are you talking post?
no, I'm talking before Curve Your
in
Enthusiasm.
acting?
What?
Or you're talking before you?
Oh, I'm talking before.
Oh, okay.
No, so even to get, if someone's saying I want a career like Cheryl Hines, I like to talk about myself in the third person. I'm saying I worked, I put myself through college. I moved by myself out to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
I found jobs. I did
Right.
every bad job you can ever imagine, and that's just the beginning. And then there's also, be kind to other people, no matter who they are, because there's
Sure.
a pecking order in life. Everybody starts out not everybody, but most people start out down here. I started out down here. I know what it's like to be the person serving you lunch. And I also know that the person serving me lunch could be writing the next great script, and I
Right.
might be working for that person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the only reason to be kind and,
Sure.
think about other people. But I remember I was in a meeting with Jeffrey Katzenberg,
Mm-hmm.
who's so successful. We were in a conference room. We were about to have a table read, and the chairs weren't set up. And Jeffrey starts moving chairs, and I said, "I'm sorry, don't you have someone who moves chairs?" And he said, "They didn't do it. It needs to be done." So I helped him move the chairs because. So here it is. It's like.
It's kind of how NBC worked, I remember.
Yeah. So it's like,
No job too big or small.
no
Right.
job too big or small. Just
Right.
do it. We all wanted to achieve the same goal. If it's to make the movie, to make the TV show, to whatever it is, we're all in it together.
Sure.
The guy that's giving you the copy of the script is important. So treat them. Respect
Sure.
everybody.
No.
That's my.
Excellent advice. I know I said I had one more question, but anything you'd like to share that we haven't discussed?
No, I think I would just say that, you mentioned earlier that Cheryl and I seem to be in very different fields. And in a way we are, but in a way, we kind of live the same message. And at the end of the day, my goal is just to be able to look back and say, wow, I had a life well lived.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not about being motivated to achieve some abstract thing that someone else has defined. It's about waking up every day, looking forward to my day, and going to bed every night feeling good about my day.
Right.
And I think no matter what job you have, you can achieve that, and everyone should be proud of that.
Because it's about your potential. If I want to live a life where I feel like I've reached my potential, I know what I'm capable of, even things I didn't think I was capable of, I did it. So the same sort of feeling. You go to bed at night and you say, do I have the best relationship I can have with my kids? Did I see her? Did I really see her smile today?
Sure.
Did I really have a moment with my friend where I heard that they're going through a hard time? Did I, and at the same time, did I challenge myself intellectually? Did I step outside of my comfort zone? Did I have a great day where I'm like, I did a lot today, I'm gonna go to sleep, I'm gonna do it all again tomorrow? And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be on a TV show or in a movie or in front of a big classroom. It can be, and it's interesting because when you meet people who live like that, you can tell instantly.
Yeah.
Because they're connected and they have an energy about them, a positive energy that's just, you want to be around them
It's
because,
contagious.
yeah, because they're making things happen. You want to be a part of, I don't want to say the magic because now I sound
Motivation for learning and performance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, ladies, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate it.
Nice to see you.
nice to meet you.